Hello, you are listening to the Divorce University online podcast with your hosts, Thomas and Tammy Ferreira.
Hi, I'm Tammy.
And I'm Thomas.
And today we are talking about your hidden power.
The hidden power that everyone has. You know, everybody has access to this.
That's fantastic.
Not
I love
just
things that we all have access to.
Right. You know, because people think, well, people don't know my situation.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm at the mercy of the courts and I've got an ex as a jerk and my kids don't love me and I'm going to go out and eat worms. But this is something that we can all do.
Nice.
You know, and we can even do it in some pretty tough circumstances. I mean, sometimes you're bummed out, but you're dying to know what it is.
I'm dying. Tell us.
Okay. It is the power of positive thinking.
We need to echo like thinking, like that.
Yeah. Power.
The power of positive thinking. Now, before you go, oh gosh, and click off of us, let me just tell you, we're not going to get all woo woo on you. I'm not real woo woo. I'm more of a practical kind of girl. So, we're going to try to give you some practical application here. But the nice thing about this particular topic is that it doesn't just apply to divorce. This is really something that if you can learn to do this, it will help you in your whole life.
Right. Like, I have a really negative son. Okay. And, I mean, I love him.
I have a really negative son, too.
So, and one of the things that I find about him is that he tends to attract a lot of conflict, interpersonal conflict into his life.
Yeah.
It's like he got into some spat the other day. We were surfing, and he got into some argument with a guy that was fishing off the pier.
Yeah.
And I mean, how do you get
that guy needs to take his hook and go away.
That's right. But I tend to not get that when I'm in the water. I tend to get pretty good vibes.
Right.
And I don't know why that is, but when you're out surfing, it's kind of like everything's fun and you're having a good time and there's a lot of joy in it.
Right.
And personally, if there are some surfers that they're just grumpy.
Yeah.
And it's just I try to stay away from those
right.
people. But when you're going through divorce or any other hard time, you need to attract good people into your life.
Right.
You need people that are helpful. You need people that are kind and loving, and people that will support you. You are also dealing with decision makers.
Yes.
Like judges and psychologists and court personnel.
Right.
I have several times witnessed when I was in the Superior Court. You go over to the business office, and there's some guy that's standing at the window hectoring the poor clerk that's trying to file his documents and telling her how much she doesn't care and why won't she explain this and what, she doesn't understand because what he's going through and all this stuff. And trust me, the clerk in the business office is a person that
can be your friend.
That can help you.
Well, and not just the clerk. We see people do this with judges. We see people go in front of the judge and go, well, your last decision was wrong and you shouldn't have done that. And you're biased against me and you're blah, blah, blah. And it's like, really, do you think, if you step back and you can separate your emotions, and I think that's a lot of what this requires is separating your emotions and looking at that and going, okay, is attacking the judge going to cause me to get a better outcome? Because
probably not.
So the question becomes, what do you want? Do you want a better outcome, or do you want to just be able to sort of get your pound of flesh? Because that's two different goals.
Right. Anyway, it's kind of funny because we were out to dinner the other day, and we saw this kid, probably a 17-year-old kid, who was bussing tables, and this guy had what a bleep-eating grin on his face, like the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time he was working.
And he just looked like he was having a good time.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, what is this kid smiling about?
Well, and that's probably why he has that job, right?
Right. But that's attractive.
Right.
That he appears to be enjoying himself. He's enjoying interacting with the customers.
Right.
And he's attracting positivity into his life.
Right.
And I try to teach my negative child this. If you want to attract things like jobs and money and success into your life, it's helpful to put out joy and positivity, as those are the very things that those people will be attracted to in you.
Right. And it's kind of, we've talked about, I'm a bit of a personal development junkie, but the way Tony Robbins talks about this is, and if you don't know who Tony Robbins is, I assume you live under a rock and you need to go Google it.
Google him.
But assuming
Tony Robbins.
if you didn't know who Tony Robbins was before and you're getting a divorce, I'm guessing you found him by now.
Yeah.
But anyway, he talks about, there's science behind, you have a reticular activating system in your eye and how your eye.
What?
How reticular activating system. Go Google it.
I think we have a word of the day.
Today this is so unusual. This should be like a marked episode. Tammy has the word of the day instead of Thomas.
I'll tell you what, we went surfing this morning and the waves were so reticular.
No, not a correct application. Anyway, back to my point. He talks about how you go buy a new vehicle and suddenly you're seeing that vehicle everywhere. And it's not that it wasn't there before. It was there before. You just weren't noticing because it wasn't kind of in your view. And so I think that's a lot of how the positivity works is if you're walking around and you're grumpy and you're in a bad mood and you're whatever, the first thing you're going to notice is people that are grumpy or short with you or whatever. And if you're positive and you're upbeat and you're smiling and you're happy, you're going to notice other people who are behaving the same way. So, there's something to be said for, attracting things into your life. And I understand that concept. Thomas and I are working through Think and Grow Rich. This is my second or third time reading it. So, I understand a lot of that, but on the practical side,
work this time, I hope.
That's true. Well, this is my second or third time reading through it. I've never actually done all
wait
the
a minute,
exercises.
Positivity. This is it. This time. This is our time.
Anyway, if you are, if you're thinking about those things and you're doing that kind of positive outlook, then that's going to be what you're focused on. And it's not, I don't believe that you could just sit and say, oh, make me rich, make me rich, make me rich, or bring the love of my life, bring the love of my life. And that person just shows up. But what happens is if you're open to it, you're focusing on it. I talk about the fact that before I met you, I had a list of, non-negotiable qualifications that person had to have.
Right.
And
being a smart ass on the list.
Apparently it was. Apparently so. But, this I understand is really easy to say, and it's difficult to apply in many circumstances, such as a divorce.
Right. And the reason is because it's a very negative process.
Right.
I've met nobody. I was about to say very few. But, who says, wow, I really want to talk to my ex today? Nobody.
Yeah. Including me.
Right. So a lot of times you're getting nasty messages and there's conflict and there's people late for the drop-offs and the pickups and the support's not paid and people are... Your ex is making some kind of sarcastic remark or trying to bait you into it. And it's easy to get stuck in kind of a negative rut.
Mm-hmm. Cycle.
You're stuck in a rut because everything seems to be coming up crap.
Right. Right. So how do you shift that?
And how do you shift that? Well, I remember you talking to me yesterday about how the floods were affecting you. And, Tammy's from a little place called Jackson, Kentucky, right?
Yes, that's where I grew up. So if you've listened to the podcast, you know that I'm from southeastern Kentucky. And if you've This podcast is releasing on August 2nd. And at the end of last week, there was really severe flooding in that area. My hometown was pretty much at the core of it. And it's just decimated hundreds of people. I mean, I get on Facebook and just every second or third post is somebody that, lost a loved one or hasn't been able to contact
Somebody
a loved
lost
one.
4 kids.
Yeah,
from the
that
roof.
was the next county over. That wasn't in my
Oh,
county.
for
But,
heaven,
yeah, but
for
still, yeah.
heaven's sake, I can't. You told
Yeah.
me that story, and it's
Yeah.
like
They lost all 4 of their
I
children
couldn't
in the
stop
flood.
thinking about it.
Yeah, ages 2
Yeah.
through 8. And, and I mean, people lost everything. The level of flooding is historic. I mean, we have flash floods in that area. I've lived through a couple floods when I was growing up there, but this is like unprecedented levels. My grandfather's church that he was the pastor of for 40 or 50 years. My grandfather passed away a few years ago, but the church that he was pastor of, it had never gotten above the floorboard, of the church. There's a basement, and it had gotten into the
Apparently
basement.
There's a lot of floods in this little town.
Yeah, and it had gotten into the floorboard, I think twice maybe in the past, maybe 3 times. But this time it was all the way up to the roof.
Right.
And, I was talking to my aunt this morning, and she's like, everything, the pews, the songbooks, the piano, the PA system, the furnace, everything is devastated, is just completely unusable. And so, that's obviously horrible to have happened to a church, but this is what's happening to all these families there too.
Right.
And so you think to yourself, how do you begin to recover from this? And they had a fairly severe flood about 1.5 years or so ago. And so a lot of those people have just started kind of recovering.
Yeah, it's like
and now
adding
here,
insult to injury.
Yeah, here we're hit again.
Right.
And so it can be really difficult. I mean, when you look at it in that context, it kind of makes you probably think, well, okay, I'm only going through a divorce. I'm good. I woke up this morning, I'm in a dry house with electricity and water and food in the fridge, and everything's good. And that's one of the things that I also listen to Steve Harvey sometimes, and that's one of the things that I was listening to a video from him this morning where he was saying,
the comedian?
Yes.
The Family Feud guy?
Yeah, he's fantastic. Go out and listen to some of his personal development stuff. But he talks about how if you're in a negative place or you have a bad attitude, gratitude is the first place you go. That's the first stop. If you're feeling discouraged, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling, deprived, whatever emotion you're having, the first place you go is to gratitude.
Right. Well, one of the things that is absolutely striking about the stories that Tammy's been showing me the Facebook, it's like, oh, look at this, this house is underwater.
Well, it's everybody I know has had somebody in my grandfather's church that I was talking about. They said 4 families in that church lost everything, and that's not a huge church. That's like 50 people.
Yeah, and
4
it's like,
families.
Are you trying to cheer me up? That's what I always say to her. But one of the things that really struck me from all the stories about it is the level of grassroots help that's come, and how these very closely knit, these are communities where everybody knows each other.
Yes, everybody knows everybody. Our parents went to school together, all that kind of thing. And I will tell you, I will try not to get too choked up about it. It's very difficult. I feel like getting on a plane for the last 4 or 5 days. All I've wanted to do is just get on a plane and go, but that's not always possible, being this far away. Thankfully, my father lives just east, just west of the area.
Right. He didn't get hit.
He didn't get hit. He moved to where my stepmother is from, and so it's a little bit west of there. So he didn't get hit. And my aunt that lives there is she was on high enough ground that she wasn't affected, but they have been without water and some inconveniences like that. Mm-hmm. I do have another aunt where water did get in her home. I don't know how severe it is, but pretty minor for my family, I would say. But here's what you see when you get on Facebook in the days following and you're watching. It's like you see this service going on yesterday, Sunday service going on. Today's Monday when we're recording this, but Sunday service going on, and they're just in the parking lot of a little strip mall because it's all that was available. And they're playing praise music and everybody's singing along, and you hit the video and you can hear them all, praising and singing. And so they're gathering to do all this while in the midst of all of this devastation around them. There was somebody that they said purchased a whole big truckload long 18-inch or 18, what are they called? 18-wheeler. I'm sorry, not inch. Not an 18-inch. That's not very long. An 18-wheeler, a big flatbed of all this water that they've brought in, because that's the big thing. There's not water.
There's water everywhere, but but you can't drink it.
Right. It's all muddy, gross. Right. Right. You can't. And I think that the water systems are contaminated, so you can't even use your home water. And, and then, all these, you start seeing all the posts on Facebook, and like Thomas said, like, if you're not from there and you don't know how this works, it's kind of like, it's totally different. We live in California. The culture here is totally different, in my opinion. And, they have these shirts that have come out now that said, these mountains are my, let's see, what does it say? These mountains are my home. These people are my people. These people are my family, and these mountains are my home. I think that's what the shirt said. And that really just encapsulates it perfectly, because what you see is all these posts of people saying, hey, we need a backhoe over here on this highway. Hey, we need and all our little communities have little names, right? Like, where my grandpa's church was Lost Creek, and then, Clay Hole and Pan Bowl and Lakeside and Buckhorn, and, all the little places in the town have little, names for the little area. And it'd be like, oh, we up at Lost Creek, we need a backhoe, and we need this and that. And then it's like, you'll see an update a little bit later. We got the backhoe. Now we're in need of da, da, da. If you have a pickup truck, please come help us. And they're all just gathering together and helping friends, neighbors, family, whoever is struggling with this cleanup. They're all just pitching in.
Right. And it reminds me of, and you're going to think this is stupid when I say it, but it reminds me of The Grinch That Stole Christmas. And here it is. The Grinch steals everything. And this story touches my heart.
Right.
But the Who's started singing, right? They didn't allow the
Grinch to steal their Christmas spirit.
To steal their Christmas.
Right.
Because really, Christmas is not about packages and gifts and roast beast.
Right.
It's about people.
Right.
It's about others. It's about gathering together. And that's the kind of spirit that you see there. And I guess where I was going with that is, how do you find the good in that situation?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's right there.
Right.
It's right in front of you.
Yeah. The good is all your neighbors coming to help. The good is people calling and checking on you. The good is somebody saying, we're at the high school, we've got hamburgers cooked, stop by, pick one up. If you can't get here and you need us to get to you, call us. We'll try to get to you. We're bringing water. The Walmart there has portable showers that have been, I didn't even know such a thing existed. There's a whole truck of like portable showers where people can go and shower and all that kind of thing.
And this is what I love about America. We still have that sense of volunteerism, and I don't know whether that's fading away. I certainly hope it isn't.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not there.
But we can be positive.
Right.
In the midst of crisis, and
right.
we will help each other, and we will give our injured brother a leg up,
right?
To help him, or we'll give him some food, or we'll help them to rebuild their house or something. Right. And that's something I'm very proud of in America, and that's how you recapture your positivity.
Right. Right. And even if you've walked out of there and you've lost everything but the shirt on your back, and I can't say I've ever had that experience specifically, but if that's all you have, then you look around and say, well, thank God I have my health. Thank God my children survive. Thank God I have support around me to help me rebuild. Thank God I have a family member's house to go stay at, or thank God that there's FEMA coming in that's going to give us relief, or, whatever. You have to try your best to focus on the things you can be grateful for in that situation, because if you focus on what you've lost, that's going to take you down to a dark place.
It's going to take you to a hard place. It's going to attract garbage into your life.
Right.
And you folks are going through divorce.
Right.
And I've been through divorce. Tammy's been through divorce. And it's a proctology exam. There's no question about it. It really is difficult, and it's hard to transition your kids and not see them for a week.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
You miss them.
And it's hard to not have the family life that you used to have. It's hard to deal with somebody who pushes your buttons.
Yep.
There's a lot of things. It's hard to deal with decision makers that don't seem to have any concept of fairness.
Right.
And I don't mean to cast aspersion on our judicial officers. They do the best they can. But unfortunately, as one of the judges that I appeared in front of told me one time, said, "Mr. Ferreira, we have no fault divorce, but not no consequence divorce."
Right. And there's always a consequence for the kids. And, you're modeling this for them, because if I look back and I didn't deal with this situation as positively as I wish.
I didn't make the point, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I thought that was into your thought. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't the end of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To do
So
that
we have
to
no
you.
consequence divorce.
Right.
Or we don't
So
have no consequence.
The antidote, because I know this is what you guys want, right? The power is in seeing the beauty around you. You have to see the positive.
Right.
Sometimes you have to look really hard for it,
Yeah.
but it's there.
Right. You can always find something to be grateful for.
Right. And sometimes you can go help, like Tammy's support group, all her girls. They all band together like a band of sisters, and they talk to each other, and they lift each other up, and they hold each other up, and sometimes they cry. But that's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, how can you serve other people? That's part of what gets you outside of yourself. That's part of what we're seeing with the devastating floods, is how, neighbors are serving other neighbors and all that kind of thing. That's what gets you outside of yourself and outside of your own, sadness and issue. And what I was going to say is, I didn't deal with my divorce as positively as I wish I had. There were a lot of days that I was a crumpled heap in the bed and, couldn't hardly move or function or anything. And I know you have days like that, and that we're not here to criticize that. But, I think you have to have grace for yourself, let yourself grieve and do that, but don't stay there.
Yeah.
That's not a place where you can stay. And you're modeling this for your kids.
Right.
And so, I tried very hard to get up, get moving and start putting my life back together. My kids were watching me do that, whether they are actively or not, they're picking that up as you're moving through it.
And we had a good outcome with it.
Right. And so what we've really tried to do, that's what our whole business is about. That's what the podcast is about. That's what everything that Thomas and I do is, trying to serve other people who are struggling with this same thing that we've been through.
We're basically trying to make lemonade out of lemons.
There you go.
God gave us divorce, and we're making divorce aid.
Right. Divorce aid.
We're making
like,
lemonade.
and it's divorce ADE, right? Divorce aid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the drink, not AID.
Right.
Yes. Although it could be a double meaning.
But, we live in America where inflation is tough, and there's some economic stuff that's going on that's hard to live with, and crime's up and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we live in a free country. We live in a country where you can decide to build a new business.
Right.
And make it work.
Right.
You can decide to improve yourself and get an education and get a job. You can decide to make something beautiful out of this pile of garbage that fate has landed you with.
Right.
And that's where it comes from. And I'm telling you, if you wear a different countenance, if you change your face, you start attracting those good things into your life.
Yeah, that's another thing that Tony Robbins talks about, is he talks about your state and how your changing your physical is one of the fastest ways to change your emotional state.
Right.
Because he uses the example of, like, okay, take a depressed person. How does a depressed person present?
Right.
They're slumped, their head's down, their shoulders are forward, they kind of talk low, maybe they mumble. He said, do that. Like, lean forward, drop your head, hunch your shoulders, talk that way. Don't you start to feel down,
Yeah, I think I'll go eat worms.
Right. But then take your shoulders back, stand up straight, raise your voice, kind of shake your body out, and you will automatically physically start to feel better.
If you ever listen to him talk, it's kind of like it's hard not to feel positive just to hear the way he talks. It's like, you can do this. You can do it. Yes, I can. I can do it.
Yeah. Tony Robbins is a great lift. If you, like I said, if you've never listened to him, you should really try. I listen to a lot of that kind of thing in the morning. Him and Jim Rohn was his mentor, and Wayne Dyer's great too. Steve Harvey. There's a lot of them, and Brendan Burchard. I
never knew that about Steve Harvey.
Mel Robbins.
I didn't know that he did self-help stuff.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
no, that's cool.
You can see he has some keynote speaker stuff out on YouTube, and you can listen to it. It's very, very interesting.
He's a very funny man.
Yeah, he had you listen to him talk about his story of like times where he was living in his car when he was a comic, just starting out and trying to make it in the business, and how he slept in his car and all these different things. And, one of the stories he tells, which this really goes back to the attracting positivity thing. He said he was working, and he kept telling his grandmother, he lived in the house with his grandmother, I believe, and he kept telling her, I'm going to get a new car. I'm going to get a new car. I'm about to get a new car, blah, blah, blah. He was trying to he's like, I'm getting that new car. And his grandmother said, you ain't getting no new car. And he's like, why are you doing that? Why are you being all negative? Why are you saying that to me? And she said, you ain't getting no new car because your old car's still sitting in the driveway up on blocks where it ain't running. You ain't got no place for a new car. She said, until you get rid of that old car and create the space for the new car. Now, I'm paraphrasing a lot. You have to go listen to him tell the story. It's obviously a lot more funny too. But, until you create the space for the new car, no new car's coming in your life. So he said he went out and he cleared that spot and he got rid of the old car. He said within 2 weeks there was a new car in the driveway.
Wow. Yep.
So you have to really clear out the old. And with physical objects, it's real easy to understand that concept, but mentally that's true too. You have to clear out the old. You have to clear out what's happened. You can't keep looking back. It's the old saying, you don't look back, you're not going that direction.
Right.
So you got to leave that stuff in the past.
I can't look back. How's that song go?
I don't know. And start moving forward, and creating the positivity that you want. Because if you're still moving forward with the negative attitude, you're just going to attract negativity round 2 into your life.
Right, exactly. And you'll end up with some other guy that pushes your buttons.
Yes. Or gal, whichever. Some other crazy chick, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So we hope that you are. Oh,
I have one more thing.
Oh, Thomas has one more. I was ready to wrap it up. Okay, go ahead.
We're 20 minutes in. So it doesn't matter how bad the situation is. It can be turned around.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much legal trouble or how broke you are or how little time you have. There are ways to turn that situation around. And Tammy teaches that in her group. And I'm going to be doing my own coaching with,
we're working on
with
getting
the guys.
Him going.
We're working on getting me going. Because there are ways to turn this around.
Right.
But step 1 is to turn yourself around.
Right. That's where you have to start. You cannot build a positive life from a negative attitude.
That's right.
Yeah, you can't do it.
So go ahead. Wrap us up.
Now I'm going to wrap us up. All right. So if you are listening to the podcast, please rate and review us in iTunes or Google Play or Spotify or wherever you're listening to us at. If you are watching the video on YouTube, please know you can go listen to full episodes on divorceuniversityonline.com. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so that you get notified as new videos come out each week. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Divorce University online podcast with your hosts, Thomas and Tammy Ferreira. For more information, visit www.divorceuniversityonline.com.